Alright, we are in the last phase of sirus. Um, this build's actually really good at farming him because we can tank the meteor. So the only thing we gotta worry about is the spinning beam and the degens. Of course, we have a corrupted blood jewel. So we should be able to tank a meteor. We can't kill him that fast. I switched out for the basalt flask just for a little bit more armor to tank the meteor, right? Press them both, do a molten shell, and wait for it. Easy tank. We'll wait for this, we molten shell this. There he is. There he is. Again. So yeah, very good Cirrus farmer. So you don't have to worry about the meteor at all. Or the die beams. The Uber Shaper fight. For this fight I like to do a manual molten shell. Since we can tank the molten shell. I mean we can take the Shaper Slam pretty easily. To show you guys really quick. But I like Orb Storms for this fight too. Just because there's a lot standing still. You have a pretty high uptime. You don't need the range of Stormbrand for this fight in particular. Okay, we tanked that. Slam right there. Didn't hit hard at all. We're gonna molten shell this. I think the molten shell there was on cooldown, so he took a little bit more damage. Not that much. Alright. Pretty easy fight if you can tank the Shaper Slam. That's the only dangerous part of the fight, really. We have 100% spell suppression with the 3% extra mitigated. So the purple ball phase is pretty safe. If you really want to play it safer, I guess I could bring a Sapphire Flask, I think, right? For the less cold damage. But it hasn't really been a problem at all for this fight. Let's drop the degen up here at the top. Straight into purple ball. And this is why we are doing manual molten shell for this fight. Usually I just put on was it left click on walk. Bad degen drop. It's fine though. Ross beams. Damage to face him quickly. You can see that like barely broke. We had 2k molten shell left after that. Last phase. Yep. Save the molten shell when this pops off. Molten shell wasn't up, but we should be safe from it still, but why take the risk, right? And just wait for molten shell to pop back up. The build really quickly. First, we'll go over the stats for the build. We currently have 6.7k HP, about 500 ES. We have 2.5k primal Aegis against elemental damage. You got 21,000 armor. A little bit of evasion, but doesn't really matter. 100% suppression with 53% prevented. Cap reses, obviously. And 67% chaos res. 66% attack block and 70% spell block as far as defenses. And that's pretty much it as far as defenses and stats for the build. We also have we're overcapped because since we hit myself with the self chill tech, we do have 4 endurance charges up almost all the time. So we are overcapped for LA weakness maps and more Fizmit, obviously, right? Okay, let's go over the gear really quickly. So we'll start with the gear. My wand is a +1. Forgot to do D&D. +1 fractured all spell damage. So the way we crafted this is I spammed Deafening Essences of Woe for the equivalent of like T2 spell damage. I got really lucky and hit +1 all spells. I think I was aiming for just like T1 flat lightning. That would have been good enough. But we got that. And then you do prefixes cannot be changed. You A-sling. And then you really need the 4-second trigger cooldown. You have to get that to get the self-chill working. Because you need to hit yourself every 4 seconds. If you don't hit yourself every 4 seconds, you will only have 50% uptime on the self-chill. Actually, yeah, the self-chill for the 30% action speed. So you have to get that trigger mod. And that's the only mod you can get. Alright, after that, we can go to the rings. The rings are the self-chill tech. It's just a winter weave and then call the void on the other side. A helmet is a zealotry and mana reservation enchant. It could be determination. It could also be, yeah, it could be wrath also, because right now I'm using wrath as a divine blessing. We could switch those around. So I would get determination or that as mana reservation efficiency. So the implicits are increased spell damage against uniques and cast speed for more damage. We have suppression, some resistances. We have an open prefix, which I did fizz as taken as fire. Alright, let's go after shield. The shield is a synth base, 5% recovery on block since we are using glancing blows. You saw my block is really high already, so this heals us against small hits from spells and regular attacks. So we crafted this really quickly with deafening, I think shrieking essences of life. We just spammed that. We got really lucky and hit T1 spell damage. If I hit like T3 spell damage, that would have been good enough. So after that, you want open prefix. If you do augment lightning with the suffixes full, you will force +1 lightning on the prefixes. So you get 1 empty suffix and then 1 empty prefix. You do cannot change prefixes, augment lightning, you'll force a +1. And then after that, we did chaos reroll, got the A-sling, got double damage with focus for burst damage, and then finally suppression. For the chest, we found the suppression chest. I just needed 15% to cap out my res. I mean, not my res. I need 15% suppression to cap out the suppression to 100%. And then we use essences, I think, of Hysteria, I believe, to get Onslaught when you're hit. Since we are self-hitting every 4 seconds, we have Perma Onslaught. So I just spammed those until we got a good life roll. And then I did A-sling on the prefixes. I'm pretty sure I hit that fire res with the essence. So we hit the T3 life into fire res. So we did suffixes can't change, A-sling, we hit the % life, and then we finally crafted fizz taken as fire and lightning craft for the chest. And for the implicits, we got aura stacking and Determination Ore. You could also do Wrath Ore or Zealotry Ore for more damage if you want. That's also an option. For the gloves, we are using Algor Mortises. We have a Corruption for +2 gems. That's where I put my gems slots. That's where I slot in my auras for +2 for the level. We also have Elemental Weakness as our curse. It's not that much different from Conductivity. And because of the way we built the build, right, we couldn't fit a high level Conductivity because of the mana cost. So that's why we're using Elemental Weakness on hit. These gloves are just unique gloves. They let us sap the enemy for 20% because we're stacking so much ailment effect. So we get 20% sap basically on almost all enemies, and we also get increased damage for enemies that are in chilled areas for lightning damage. The trigger for the 4-second from the wand has cold snap, so that always drops a cold snap, and against single target, they should always be in chilling areas, so that's extra damage. For the belt, we just have a Chaos Res belt. I just spammed essences until we got something decent, and then I slammed a Hunter Orb for the % life. And just like a big health, Chaos Res, Fire Res, and Strength belt. The Jewel is just Chaos Res, some life, and I think I'm pretty sure I slammed that lightning spell damage, but if it was like anything else, I would have just taken it. So the reason why I have fractured 9% chaos damage is because this build is very specific. We need to do just enough damage that we get 30% chill. Right now, something's actually off, and we're not getting 30% chill. I have to fix it. I think my Chaos Res is a little too high. Basically, you have to get your Chaos Res very specifically set up so that you get full chill. Alright? Because you want 30%. So if you're doing this build, make sure your Chaos Res isn't too high and you get full 30% chill whenever you hit yourself. The boots are what's it called? Either a World's Implicit. It doesn't really matter. There's not really a good one for you for this build. But the main implicit we're looking for is Scorched Ground, so we walk on top of the boss. We get around 22 to like 24% Scorched Ground for more lower res for the bosses. It really depends on which boss you're doing. On the Uber bosses, it's slightly less, but yeah, a lot of damage from that. The rest of the mods are just life, suppression, 1 resistance, and I put cannot be frozen here on the prefixes. And what is really important is the enchant 18% reduction. 18% reduction of mana if we're hit recently. Since we are using that trigger, like I said, every 4 seconds, it's always on. So we always hit myself. That's how I was able to drop EB for the build. We can make my mana cost for Conduit from 12. Once we hit ourselves, it goes down to 1. So basically unlimited mana. We don't have to care about mana at this point. And it also reduces the mana cost of the Divine Blessing to 12. So that's how we fix the mana problems for the build. And finally, the amulet, we did inverterate for the suppression. That's why I needed to cap it out. It's just Onyx 1 with stats life. It's a +2 amulet, and we did Ace Sling for the non-damaging ailments. I think we're aiming just for Chaos Res, honestly, but we missed it, and we hit non-damaging ailments, which was fine, honestly. And then just craft a res on top. Alright, let's go over the gems really quickly. Actually, I adjusted my res a little bit. So I mentioned earlier that you want to make sure your chaos res is correct, so 30% chill from the self-chill tech. So be careful of the chaos res. Gems that we are using is Wave of Conviction, Forbidden Right, and Cold Snap in the wand. This is all triggered, so we always drop Cold Snap. This combines with Algor Mortis, so they are in chilled area and take extra damage from lightning damage. The Wave of Conviction is for exposure. Forbidden Right obviously triggers the self-hit. In the helmet, we have Orb of Storms as my trigger for the shock. Every time we cast Conduit, if they are close to the storms, they will be hit by the Orb of Storms. They will get full 65% shock, and then we can use Conduit to attack them. We have Divergent Arcane Surge. That just adds 2 seconds for my Arcane Surge for more uptime. You can use regular one, honestly. We have Culling Strike for bosses. For clear, I put Awakened Chain for clear, and Awakened Unbound Ailments for more ailment effect to hit that 65% shock cap. Alright, for our main links, for the Conduit, we are using Awakened Lightning Pen, Awakened Added Damage, Hypothermia, Awakened LE Focus, Conduit, and Divergent Inspiration. This solves the mana exactly. This is going to be quite difficult. You just have to see how much mana reduction you have on your tree and adjust accordingly. We got exactly 1 mana when combined with the enchant of 18% reduction when we hit ourselves. So basically everything's free on this build as far as mana goes. And for the gloves is where I put my ores because of +2 implicit corruption. We have Determination, Defiance Banner, Zealotry, and Enlightened Support. And for my boots, we have Anomalous Wrath, Divergent Inspiration, and Divine Blessing for the temporary Wrath Blessing Aura, right? 11 seconds. You have to note that we have to hit myself recently for that 18% so we can cast it, because it's 12 mana here. If we haven't hit myself recently, it's 215. So that's why we really need this enchant. And then finally for the shield, we have Molten Shell for our guard skill. Since we hit myself constantly, we can't use cast when damage taken. I usually put this on walk. Occasionally in the boss fights, you'll see that I put this on a button, so I want to manually trigger it. But when I'm mapping, I put this on walk. We have Flame Dash for a movement skill, and finally a Divergent Tempest Shield for more spell block. Okay, let's go over my skill tree really quickly and my jewels. So, as far as the tree goes, we started out with Shaper of Storms, and then I got Master of Discord, and then Heart of Destruction, and then finally I got Shaper of Winter in the original leveling setup. But once you get the Call of the Void, you can drop Shaper of Winter since all damage chills from the ring. So we can add Bastion of Elements for a bit more tank against elemental hits. And it gives us a nice quality of life since you are immune to reflect damage. Alright, so we start out here. We grab these int nodes. We are going to the right. We grab Lightning Walker for resist and lightning cast speed. Going straight across. We grab a jewel over here. This has mana cost reduction 4%. I needed exactly 4% so I could get my Conduit down to 1 mana. Because we are using Inspiration, if it costs for free, you don't get the Inspiration stacks. So you lose all the damage from Inspiration. So you have to have at least 1 mana for Lightning Conduit. We going down here. We go down to Coordination for some dex because the build's a little bit dex starved. And yeah, just more damage over here. Originally, I did have Elemental Focus, but once you get my Cluster Jewel, I had to drop it because I couldn't fit it. But my final 2 points, we are 98, would probably be this. So we're getting Leaf Shade. That increases the duration of our chill. It doubles it to 4 seconds. That way, with the self-hit, we are always self-chill for 30% action speed. We have the Written in Blood for Life and ES hybrid. And then we have this suppression node down here with the mastery for 12% more suppression for if all my items, boots, gloves, and helmets have evasion. So between this and this anoint over here for inveterate, we have full suppression cap. So we go up here. I was able to get this life cluster. We go over here, grab a jewel. We grab this lightning cluster for pen, and for the mastery, we choose non-critical hits are lucky because we are an EO build. My Watcher's Eye right here is just determination, reduce crit damage because that's most likely how we'll die, big crits. So that just reduces it by 50%. So that keeps us tanky against spiky damage from crits. We also have Zealotry cast speed. You can get other mods like Wrath Lightning Damage and Wrath Pen. That's also an option. You can also get the other determination mods like Armor and Fizz Reduction. But any of those are fine. So we went over here. This other Lightning Mastery here is Maximum Shock Effect. We do 65% shock against all content. The POB does not calculate it correctly, but you can see in the videos we are 65% shocking all Uber bosses and all content. So we grab this lightning cluster here. We grab EO, of course. We are not a crit build. We are EO build. We go up here for my large cluster. My large cluster is mostly Stormdrinker and Doriani's Lesson. Doriani's Lesson is our leech, so that's one of our main sources of recovery after we get hit. This is the most important notable. This one is just more pen damage, right? I got really lucky and found a really good Megalomaniac. You probably won't find something like this, but if you can't find one like this, you probably just get Enduring Composure because we are hitting ourselves, like I said. We need Enduring Composure right here, so you get 1 Endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently, which is always. So that gives us a lot of Fizz mitigation. We are grabbing a +1 Endurance charge on trees, so that's 4 Endurance charges total. So yeah, it's very strong. I got Stormdrinker here and Uncompromising for some mana reservation efficiency for my determination. But yeah, if you're not gonna find this one, I don't know if you can find something similar, but just grab Enduring Composure. That's the only important one. That will be like a 2-node armor for that. And over here for my medium cluster, we are using Cold Conduction for increased chill and lightning ailments, and Astonishing Affliction for some damage and once again more ailments. And then right here we have just a Jewel, life, spell damage, and some resist that I need to like perfectly overcap my resist. We are going down here. We grab this life node. The mastery, of course, is 10% more life. We are grabbing this reservation node. Since I got that Megalomaniac for increased reservation for determination, you might have to go path down here for these, but I didn't need to because between that and the Enlighten, we were good. But you might have to change it a little bit for your version of the build. We are just grabbing Sovereignty, 10% increase of auras on ourselves. We're going down here. The Endurance charges, since we hit ourselves with Enduring Composure, we have 4 perma Endurance charges, which is very strong against Fizz attacks. The Jewel, once again, is a life mana cost reduction. Like I said, you have to calculate this exactly for your build to reduce Lightning Conduit as low as you can without getting it for free. And then over here, we have Elemental Mastery, 40% more non-damaging ailment effect. We are grabbing Divine Judgment for more damage. We are going through this life cluster, going down here for Glancing Blows. We are grabbing Glancing Blows because I have that 5% life gain on hit Synth Shield. You can see my block is pretty high, 66 attacks, 70% spell block. So that's really strong against small hits. We are grabbing this entire shield node and grabbing 1% extra block per 5% block for more attack block. We had to grab the entire Titleist tree to reduce mana and just life and reduce the cost lower so we can get it perfectly at 1. I had to go through this part of the tree for more mana reduction. That's really important to hit the cap that we were aiming for, and then Sanctity, and finally Discipline and Training. Uber Eater Worlds fight. So for this fight, I definitely prefer Stormbrand just for the increased range. Fighting this guy in melee is not exactly safest play. You actually have to dodge all those tentacles because they actually do a lot of damage. As you can see right there. Okay, we got the purple balls. Phase. Got the last one, yep. Run over him for the Scorch. Not too bad of a fight, but you definitely have to dodge all his moves. Alright, what do we got here? think that was the last one. Very close at the end. Nice. Of course nothing though. The 85 Uber Maven kill. So I like Orb of Storms if we can use it, since it gives a higher DPS output, since it's one conduit click equals one shock. And Molten Shell this. Drop the degens in the middle. A little bit of lag spike there. But unless we get bad bosses, pretty easy fight. Go left. Circle. Focus here. I hit by the beam. We can chill out a bit. We Molten Shell, it should be fine. Gotta jump this. Yeah.
Resistance will be punished.
One bad thing about Stormbrand is the range. As you can see, it's basically melee, right? It's a little bit hard to hit this guy at times, especially with conversions up. As long as you place the puddles well, it should be fine. Left up, left up, left up. Easy. Keep attacking to keep self chill in the onslaught. Last phase. Damaging before the memory game. Okay. Can shell that. Dodge that. The degen beam. Let's just push here. Can push here. Alright, nice. Any good drops? Nope. Let's do a Uber Shaper with Maven witnessed. Uber Shaper, I mean, of course. For this fight, I do like Stormbrand just because sometimes you're stuck in the Uber like Elder's little bubble thing, and then you just can't reach across to hit the boss if like Shaper's outside the arena. So we're using Stormbrand for this fight instead of Orb of Storms. he's doing the bubble thing. Yeah, the purple ball phase. What's Maven doing? She's healing, I think. I saw a degen bubble we want to drop down here. You can see the damage is a lot lower than Orb of Storms, but we have enough. But it does allow you to fight at range compared to Orb of Storms, which is basically melee. And for a fight like this, where just like area denial moves, I definitely do prefer Stormbrand. I drop this bubble right here. I know I can tank the slam, but I don't want to get low. That's why we're dodging it. Oh man, he dropped some poop. It's fine, I guess. Good drop this bubble. Degen down there. The flash off. Yeah, like I said, the denial area, stuff like this. Alright, he's phased. Get the degen puddle thing. Slaps, but we have a lot of fizz mitt, so we don't really have to worry about slaps that much. Creeper's down there in the bottom right. Let's get back my flask for last phase. Ooh, that was close. A little too close. Guessing purple ball phase, yep. Paper's dead. Elder's almost dead? Could be dead after the bubbles. Alright, nice. Do we get it? Watcher's Eye. Anziri, we gotta kill Elder first. Cortex has the delayed spawn. I think Elder's right here. We gotta kill him fast. And then Shaper. Okay. My flasks are incorrect. I think that's fine, actually. I sort of forgot to change flasks. The rest are fine. Okay, it's clean now. Didn't have any tank mods. Nice. Come in for the kill. It's just Adziri left. Very easy. Come in. Winter, please stop trading. But yeah, that was pretty easy. Didn't have any tank mods, so we killed them pretty fast. Nice. Deathless. Ooh, flawless. A bottle. Ooh. Bottle, flawless. One, almost 2 writs. A thingy. Wow. Not bad.